All right. What's good? What's good? What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man here. Full squad in effect for the night's show. Yo, starting off with Porsche. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
How's it going, Kel?
Everything is good. Everything is good. First day back in the hood after 3 months off. It's a long day. DJ Rack One, what's going on, good brother?
Ain't nothing, man. Just trying to maintain. Right. Just trying to maintain.
No doubt. Tone from Into the Dome, that time in hip hop podcast. What's going on, good brother?
Cheers, good people. Sipping.
Right. No doubt, no doubt. Eddie out of LA. What's going on, good brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. Maintaining.
Okay, I see you with the Linden Boulevard. I see you, good brother. Vague out of Brooklyn. What's going on, man? What's good, Vague?
What up, man? Me and Tone always in sync, man. Double one, whatever.
I'm with you.
You already know what it is, me. Let's jump right into it. So, at the end of last week's show, Vague had a good idea coming up with a hip hop Hall of Fame. And it's one of them shows that sounded so good. Then when I started digging in the crates, this is going to be a long show. So people always be like, Kill, when you do your March Madness shows, why don't you ever show the behind the scenes and y'all picking the brackets and doing all that? You just give us the front of bracket. This is going to be the behind the scenes of figuring out how do we come up with the criteria to get into the Hall of Fame for hip hop. What is the Hall of Fame of hip hop? All those great things. We're going to look at everybody's criteria. Then we're going to try and come up with 4 to 6 things. And then we're going to throw some names out there. This is the guinea pig episode. So we may switch some things. You know, we're starting off with the 80s, which is a different era than the 90s. So some things may have to be tweaked. Classic albums may need to get tweaked to classic songs. So, you know, this is the behind the scenes that folk want to see. So first thing I did was I'm an NBA hoops fan first and foremost. I said, what is it to get into the NBA Hall of Fame? Then I realized there's no NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame because they do the NBA, they do men's, women's, college, international, everything. So the first criteria, and here's the other thing, same thing with the MVP. The NBA is never going to tell you the criteria for the MVP. Why? Because then they'd be stuck to that. They'd be stuck in this box of, okay, it has to be this. Plus, it starts arguments every year on First Take and every other show. Same thing with the Basketball Hall of Fame. There's really no criteria. The only set criteria is the person has to be retired for at least 4 seasons. That's really basically the criteria. And again, the Hall of Fame for basketball is pro, college, Olympics, women, and the national. The thing that I found out is you have to have a quote unquote decent career. Now, again, what is decent? I don't know. I'm sure we all have different definitions of what decent can be. There are 9 people on the committee. Each player has to get at least 7 votes to stay in contention. 6 or fewer votes and you're out. 0 votes. And basically, if you don't get 7 votes, then you get to be on the ballot again next year. But if you get 0 votes for 3 years, your name is done. You're never getting into the Hall of Fame if you get 0 votes. And the people on the voting committee is a secret. It's like, who's Batman? Who's Batman? Who's Superman? It's a secret to who these 7 people are who are voting, because I'm sure they probably getting death threats and everything by now. So again, with the hip hop, with the NBA or basketball, there is really no criteria except you being retired for 4 seasons, which is hard to do in hip hop because people ain't gonna retire. We've talked about before, would Ice Cube maybe be higher on people's list if he stopped rapping after the Predator? You know what I mean? But they, you know, you keep KRS got 18 albums. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's kind of like that whole thing is decent, is you know, about stopping at the eventual time. And here's the question I want to ask y'all. With the hip hop Hall, I want to make sure we're talking, because what I liked about this Basketball Hall of Fame is that it encompasses everything. So this is the hip hop Hall of Fame. It's not just the lyricist Hall of Fame. It's not just the dopest voice Hall of Fame. So we're talking about the whole gambit. And what does the whole gambit mean? And what do I mean by that? One of my criteria is impact on the culture, at least 1 classic, at least 3 albums in your discography, and you write your own rhymes. Now, is writing your own rhymes that important to everybody else up here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Porsche says yes. Records nod his head. Tone?
Yeah, I would say 90%. You should write your own.
Okay.
I think 10% you're gonna have other cats in the studio giving you a line.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm not even talking about lines. I'm not talking about that. I'm like, yo, Tone, I'm saying, Tone, here's my rhyme book. Here you go, sir. And you taking the book and you, so no, not help, not
that's
an assist, but Okay, that's okay. Eddie, what about you? Are you on board with that?
I am to a point. I think it might wind up being a little biased against some female
Okay,
MCs. So
okay, good point. Vague, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Eddie on that because, like, the more I think about people who I know had ghostwriters, maybe not write their whole catalog or their a whole album, but like a lot of their music, it's like certain people, like somebody like Biz. I wouldn't keep Biz out of the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, and
Right,
we know a couple of people wrote for him. So
right. Now that's a good point. So that may be something we gotta put an asterisk on. So
I was
that'll
just
be
gonna
an
say,
asterisk.
could the asterisk on writing be that, like, you have written before, like at some point you've written, so you've proven your pen, or does it have to be? Because for me, like, it doesn't. I feel like if someone's proven that they can write and it's held up, then if they've had ghostwriters later, no worries. Like, they still merit a consideration. Do you know what I mean? But if someone's like never written before and it's all been ghostwriting, that also says something. So, but that's just me.
And we may have to put the asterisk because I feel like each era is going to be different. The
Right.
80s is much more of a single driven, especially the beginning of the 80s was much more single driven. You know what I mean? So we may have to switch out classic albums for classic songs. I feel like in the 80s, it was still those days of, like I said, if we all was hanging out in Philly and we all became a group and Porsche couldn't rhyme, me and Rec may have wrote her rhymes for it. You know what I mean? So in the 80s, you still have to understand, like, it, not to say it was okay, but it was like with Salt and Pepper. It's like, yo, these some shorties, we want to have them do a reply song to Dougie Fresh's The Show. They fly. I'm gonna write their rhymes. We gonna do, you know what I mean? So that may have to be an asterisk. Vague, what are your 4 criteria?
damn, I didn't know he was coming to me first.
Well, no, it's cool. I mean, I got him. I wrote everything down, but I didn't know if you wanted to say them yourself.
No, I got him.
Okay.
So for me, one is impact, of course. And by impact, I just mean like you had to have put an imprint on the game, not just a song that was popular or anything like that. Like, I mean, that comes with the territory, obviously, but almost it feeling like the spotlight is on you at some given point in hip hop history. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's a long stretch of time or 2 albums, in some cases, maybe 1 album where, everything was about you. The other one is flow. Obviously, that varies from MC to MC, but I think if your flow is impressionable or, has an impact in some regards, that could be taken into consideration, especially if it's a flow that you pioneered. Skill, skill level just speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? Wordplay, bars, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily you having to be like a Black Thought. You could be a DMX or Tupac where, your lyrics are a little bit more straightforward, but the impact of your lines is kind of what, gives them that strength as a lyricist. And classics. I feel like, you got to at least have 1, but that's like really the bare minimum. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe I feel like you should have at least 2, or a classic and 1 that's like really close to 1. But yeah, that's my 4.
All right. Cool on that. All right. Porsche, what are yours?
So mine are a little different. I think, I don't know if I was a little bit more harsh than everybody else was, but for me, you got to be at least 10 years in the game. There has to be some numerical value there because, like, someone's not going to come out this year and then be in the Hall of Fame this year as well. Like, it's just, to me, like, it's got to breathe. So I said 10 years, impact on the genre, just like Veg explained, impact on other artists. So did you influence other artists in one way or another? Whether that's, I'm going to use like Illmatic with Elmatic, Elzai's. So something like that. And then minimum five albums in the discography. And I stayed away from classics personally because I feel like that's so subjective. And I don't know who would decide what is a classic. So I didn't go there. And then consistency of the discography. So are you consistently putting out, or if you have like 15 albums, are at least like the majority of them are dope. You know what I mean? So that's mine.
All right, I'm gonna wait for everybody because I got some questions. And like for instance, 10 years since the release. So are you saying that you wouldn't be thought about in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame if you came out in 84 until 1994? Not that you, or did you have to have a good career for those 10 years?
No, you wouldn't be
Okay,
considered
so
until
that's the
94.
Okay,
Yeah, the
that's
minimum.
The minimum to get in. All right, cool. Rec, what about you?
Unmute your mic.
Longevity is my first one, and for the first go around, we're doing the 80s. So longevity for me, it could be just a 5-year stretch, being that, you know, the game changed from 80 to 85, from 86 to 90. So for me, the longevity is like 5 years, a 4 or 5 year span. Classics is the second one. I agree with Porsche. It's subjective, but I'm looking at it more so from the standpoint of the majority. Like if 6 of us up here can say that one album, we can agree cohesively that it's a classic, then I'm good with that. Lyrics, it's like Veg said, you got to be saying something, or at least the flow has to be right. And then influence. You know, if you can influence the culture in that 5 years time span, I don't see why you wouldn't be considered.
All right, Eddie, what about you?
All right. Similar to what Vegas and Porsche and Rex said, I got influence in there. And so influence is like influence on other artists that, you know, is coming after you. And then impact. So impact is impact on the culture, impact on the genre, impact on the music, you know, what you bring. So sometimes that could, you know, go hand in hand, but to me they're two kind of separate things. You know, one is on the genre and the culture, one is on other artists. I got consistency of catalog, and then classics. So in this case, yeah, it could be albums or songs. Someone could be a singles artist and you know, have, you know, influence and impact in that way, but you know, if you go through their albums, maybe you might not say, all right, you know.
All right, you kind of freezing up, Eddie.
I wouldn't call
All right.
and find my.
All right, Tone, what about you?
You know, I'm pretty much in sync with everyone on the panel with the criteria. To Porsche's point, I always look at everything in 10-year increments because to me, there's exceptions to every rule. Like, for example, I know we'll get into that. Yes, Biggie is in there. We know he didn't have 10 years, but I don't think anyone with any knowledge of hip hop would be like, Biggie didn't meet the criteria. But I use 10 because there's a lot of fly-by-night artists in hip hop, just like in any genre. So give me a decade, man. What did you do for 10 years? You know, as far as classic, yeah, it is subjective, but on the other end, there are some universal classics that I believe that most people would agree on. And if you have one of them, that's a big boost. And I also would say you should have 2 great albums as well. And that can be subjective. But for example, Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style's a classic. You know, I'm from North Carolina. I know that. I don't have to be from Compton to understand that, or from Houston to understand that. You know what I mean? So there are certain albums and pieces of work and songs that are just hip hop classics. So, you know, influence, impact, I think everyone said that kind of goes without saying. You know, when you think of somebody like Biz Markie, just real quick, when Veg said he's not your traditional MC, but his impact on the culture and everything he did for 30 years would give him some votes to get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. So I'm kind of in sync with everyone else with the criteria.
All right, now the things that I saw that most people agreed on was impact. So that's definitely there. I want to say the classics, at least one is going to be one of them. Here's my question to people who had influence, like Eddie. what is impact versus influence? I know you trying to explain it, but then you froze up for a second. So
sorry about
impact is no, it's all good. Hip impact is on the culture, but the influence is on your peers.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So we got impact, classic at least once, influence. We've got flows. Now, is flows different from skills, Vague?
I think so because I mean, I think like I found people who like some people like Busta because they just like his flow. You know what I'm saying? They're not really listening to what he's saying, you know, critiquing his lyrics and all of that. And obviously he has a certain skill to what he does, but you know, some of that also came later. Because there was times where, you know, Busta just kind of said anything, but what was dope about him was his flow and his energy, and his presentation. So I don't think flow is a category. Like, to me, it's related to skill, but it's not the same thing.
Okay. Would we be able to put it as lyrics and then under that is skills and flow?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So we would put lyrics and then skills and flow would kind of be 1A and 1B. All right. So what we're looking at is minimum of 10 years in the game before you could be considered. So even like you said, so maybe even something with Big, just like with the NBA, like, you know, if Big died in 95, you know, if he dropped in 95, 2005, he'd be eligible, I guess you could say, for it. So not really based off of how many years you were in the game. Yeah. We've got impact, at least one classic. We got influence. We've got lyrics under that, flows and skills, and we got longevity. So we got about 6 things to get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. And we'll have to tweak them bit by bit. But again, this is like the first ep. Let's start with Kurtis Blow. Kurtis Blow. 88 albums. He's the first rapper to be signed to a major label. First album, Kurtis Blow, had the brakes on it. And this goes to show people, for young folk watching, this is back when albums, Curtis's first album had 7 songs, which is an EP nowadays. His second album had 7 songs. Shit, his third album had 5 songs. You know what I mean? He was dropping an album every year. You know what I mean? So you got Kurtis Blow, Had the Brakes, one of the biggest hip hop songs ever. If you don't know, is the Kurtis Blow's The Brakes. The Deuce really didn't produce anything. Tough didn't produce anything. The best rapper on the scene really didn't produce anything. His 5th album, Ego Trip, is the one where he had 8 Million Stories, AJ Scratch, Basketball. You know, so that was like probably his biggest album. So somebody like Kurtis Blow, looking at the criteria, impact. What is Kurtis Blow's impact on the game? And it doesn't have to be nothing drawn out, but like tone, just, you know, elevator speech. Impact Kurtis Blow on the game.
Oh man, I mean, you talking about literally the first superstar solo artist of the culture. You know what I'm saying? So any youngsters listening, please do your research on Kurtis Blow. I mean, it is what it is. The Breaks is still highly influenced, legendary. People study Kurtis Blow, not necessarily for his lyrical ability, because that would be like the Cass and Mo D's and all of them early on with Mel, but they study his presentation, his look. You know what I mean? He was the superstar. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the Sugar Hill Gang with more of a novelty act with a big song on the radio. At the time, people looked at Kurtis Blow the same way people looked at a rock star in that genre. You know what I mean? So I think that alone, the impact of that and basketball, people, I mean, that was a big thing when he dropped Basketball and 8 million and stuff like that. So I just think with who he was at the time, and to be first is like being Jack Johnson in boxing. You know what I'm saying? You automatically a legend. You automatically in there because you are one of the first standards for the culture. So I would definitely say it goes without saying.
All right. And for the sake of time, I'm going to do this like I do with my meetings at work. We ain't going to do no piggybacking. So if somebody already said it, there's no need to be like, oh, and I'm a piggyback. Like I tell my people at meetings, we don't piggyback. We just, somebody said it, they said it. So I agree with you 100% on that. Now let's look at classics. Kurtis, I don't personally think Kurtis has classic albums, but he has classic songs in an era where we were 12-inch heavy. Tone just said it, basketball was in the NBA. That's literally the first time basketball and hip hop kind of connected was with that song. I hated the movie, but Bow Wow had the damn movie with basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, okay, so I feel like he has the classics, the influences there. Now, here's the thing, and people got to remember this. We're going to Vegas, the resident MC with lyrics, flows, and skills. I would say for Curtis Blow's time, he was nice. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Vague, you're the resident MC. You weigh in, you know? Any beef with that assessment?
I think so. I think Tone said it like plainly. Like, you know, he was the soloist, the superstar. He was the standard for LL and for Jay-Z, for anybody who's like a soloist and was like that guy. I think for the time and how they were rapping, and you're talking about MC, Master of Ceremonies, you know, like you can't tell me when Curtis Blow was on Crush Groove and he did his set, you ain't feel that. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it was.
Oh, how did I
like
forget if I ruled the world? I forgot what y'all.
If
I ruled the world. Yeah, I totally forgot about that joke.
So yeah, he was that guy.
All right. And another asterisk for people watching at home, and I love these episodes because it's going to teach you a lot about the 80s. Longevity was hard in the 80s because, again, we're at a time when the record industry didn't know what rap was. You know, people thought rap was going to be here from 79 to 85, and that's that. So I think for a lot of these artists, we're going to have to kind of put the asterisks and give them a pass on the longevity because it may not necessarily be the artist's fault. It's just the industry around them was changing, you know, because by the time Running them got here, nobody wanted to hear that hippity hop, you know, to the hip hop no more, you know, so that's not Curtis's fault. You know, it's just that the game was expanding and people didn't know where to go. And at that time, again, biting was forbidden. If biting was forbidden right now, a lot of y'all favorite rappers wouldn't even be here because they've latched on to whatever is the new style that, you know, you couldn't do at that time. All right, so we got it. Curtis Blow's in the Hall of Fame. We're good with that?
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. First inductee into the Hall of Fame. Let's go for somebody that may be a little not off, but you know, questionable. People ask me about this all the time. I'm gonna go to Big Daddy Kane. Because people always ask me, how is Kane a top 5 MC and he only had 1, maybe 2 albums out? Kane had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 albums out. And truth be told, only 2 of them were dope. You know what I mean? I personally believe Long Live a Kane and It's a Big Daddy Thing are both classics. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But let's look at Kane. Vague, you're from Brooklyn, so we'll start with you. Impact on the game. I would hope. Kane, okay. You said it like it was a prosecutor on the stand. Like, yes, I'm a
yes. From Brooklyn, Marcy. Now, yeah, I think without a doubt, anybody who doesn't put Kane in the Hall of Fame for all the right reasons is stupid because you already mentioned like the 12-inch, right? Kane had classics. If he had the same kind of run Curtis Blow had, where it's like he didn't really have no classic albums, but he had classic singles. Kane had classic singles, but he also had 2 classic albums, like almost flawless albums. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he took a steep dive after that, but you're talking about influence, not only in style and how he carried himself, but lyrically. You know what I'm saying? He's the precursor to Jay-Z. All y'all who be all up Jay-Z ass because, he's the greatest by far. That come from Kane. So, like, his videos, everything, his presence, like that same presence that we talked about with Curtis Blow, Big Daddy Kane exhibited that as well. You know what I'm saying? When he did a show, he commanded it. You know, he really danced with his dancers. When he did a video, you know what I'm saying, you knew who the star was in the video without him even having to say a word yet. So yeah, without a doubt, I don't even know how it could be debatable with Kane, even with him only really having 2 classic albums and then kind of falling off after that. So.
Yeah, I mean, prayerfully, it's not debatable, but I'm still getting used to younger folk actually watch this show. So, you know, and like I said, there's been questions by people I know who are in their 30s and 40s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how does this dude only got 2 albums? But again, and for people who may not be watching, the 12-inch was a single. It was back in the day. Maybe you didn't get a whole record deal, like with Cold Chillin'. Great example. They would give you a 12-inch deal. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
One point real quick.
Yeah.
I think something you said earlier goes to Kane. At some point, Big Daddy Kane and Rakim were considered like the best MCs. So to me, if you were at any point in your career, you were looked at as the best. And people, at some point, even though KRS One and AL and them, they was up there, people wanted to pit Rakim against Big Daddy Kane. Everybody know they want them to battle at the Apollo. All this is real stuff. They both talked about this 30 years later. People looked at Kane like a god and Rakim the god. You know what I'm saying? So Kane had the total package, man. So at one point he was looked at as the guy. Even if it was 5 minutes, he was the guy for 5 minutes.
Right. And the 12 inch is kind of like Eddie, the show we did with Penny when we were talking about how come some classic albums aren't mentioned is because the 12 inches lived for so long. EPMD is a great example. They may have dropped 5 singles before they finally dropped their album. You know what I mean? So the same thing with Jungle Brothers. They're dropping 4 to 5 singles. So when Kane dropped Raw like shut everything down. You know what again? And again, this is what I mean by you don't have to be there to understand. You in my opinion, you had to be there to understand 100% of it. You know what I mean? You can read, you can learn, and all that stuff, but to get the whole gambit, you're never going to get the whole gambit of what Raw did to the game unless you were there. And you knew that when Raw came on, and the 12 inch could live for 6 months, and we was good with that. This isn't today's hip hop where we need a new album every 2 months or we forget about you. Nah, like Raw could live by itself, and then when you come back with Set It Off after Raw, it was like, yo, nobody was even rapping that fast. Like at the time, Kane was coming in with tempos 112, 120 BPMs. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then you follow that back up with Ain't No Half Stepping, and it just keeping in mind that the albums weren't there, but if you were coming up in the 80s, the 12 inch was just as important as the album. All right, here's one that I'm gonna throw with this gonna be one I don't know where it's gonna go. I want to see this. Ice-T. Now we got Ice-T. He drops in 87, but I just was watching Rapping with Mario Van Peebles the other day. I totally forgot Ice-T was in that movie. I remember him from Breaking, but I did not remember him from Rapping. So Ice-T been rapping in movies since 84 with Breaking. So he's got Rhyme Pays, he's got Power, he's got The Iceberg, OG Gangster, Home Invasion, Ice-T 4, and The Seventh Deadly Sin. Ice-T, some consider the godfather of gangster rap, which he gracefully gives that to Schoolie D, and I will always respect him for that. Yeah. Does Ice-T get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame? Porsche, you're the closest to the West Coast, so I'm gonna go with you. Does Ice-T, in your opinion, check all the boxes for impact, at least one classic album, influence, lyrics, and longevity?
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of those things that I don't know how someone could debate that. And just the fact that it's widely accepted that he's the godfather of gangster rap, and he's like, no, like it's Schoolie D, just that alone to me is so impactful and so influential. Not to mention his albums. He had a very strong run. Like his discography is one of the strongest consistent discographies out there in the West and maybe in the East too. So yes, without a doubt, Ice-T. I mean, his influence is undeniable for sure.
Now, this may be one of the ones I get voted off because I don't see it. It's one of those things where I think he should be there, but going off of our criteria, I mean, again, this is just me. I don't see Ice-T having a classic album. You know what I mean? I see him having very good albums. I don't even know if Ice-T has a classic song that I can go to and say, this is the Ice-T song. Like, if somebody said, where do I start with Ice-T? I'll be like, maybe that shit off of New Jack City. Like, I really can't just be like, this is where you go. I mean, his influence on West Coast hip hop is undeniable. I definitely get it. I never thought Ice-T was lyrical like that. I mean, his flows was subpar to me, and I don't know about his longevity because I don't know anybody who ever said, "Oh shit, Ice-T's coming to town. I gotta go see Ice-T live in concert." So I know I'm not. I may be the odd man out. Rec, what about you? What does Ice-T make it?
So
and again, this is the guinea pig episode because everybody's gonna be based off of this. The criteria we came up with. You know, Rec, does Ice-T get into the Hall of Fame?
For me, he does solely off of impact and influence.
Okay.
I get it. The albums maybe not for you, but for some people, man, that album with Darlene on the cover, they swear by that album.
But you know why they swear by the album? Because you just fucking said it. Because it's Darlene on it.
But here's the thing: that album.
If that's the point, Two Live Crew could get the damn album in the goddamn Hall of Fame. We talk about naked women on album covers.
The album has substance.
Okay.
The album has substance behind it. It's not a bad album. I don't know.
But is it a classic?
That's the thing. I don't know if I would consider it a classic. I may have to go back and revisit it. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just not. Okay. I'm not to the point to where I can speak to it today. I'll go back and listen to it.
Hold on. I'm sorry, finish right, and then we'll go to Vay.
I was gonna say, but for impact and for how long his impact has stood, I mean, people still go to Ice-T for shit. When it's time to break bread or there's issues, Ice-T sometimes is in the forefront of that. He might not be on the Jay Prince level, but people will go to him to break bread. You know what I'm saying? Like, he still is looked at as an OG, and I highly respect the OG.
Now, here's the thing. I totally agree with that, but that's not in our qualifications. The qualification is not, can you broker a peace treaty when niggas is beefing?
Okay.
You know?
So if we go, sure, let me look.
But right, if he makes it, that's cool. I could be outvoted. That's cool. Vay, what were you gonna say?
Go ahead.
What you gonna say, Vay?
The rec, you was gonna say something?
Nah, go ahead. You got it.
I think Ice-T gets in there because definitely impact. Especially for West Coast hip hop, not just gangster rap. Songs like 6 in the Morning are the breaks. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So he has songs in a way that Curtis Blow had songs. You know what I'm saying? So I think he falls under that Curtis Blow category. Like, he was the guy before Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? He was the guy before Snoop. Dr.
Now let me ask you a question, and it may be my West Coast ignorance, so that's why I'm asking. Outside 6 in the Morning, what else does Ice have? Like
Colors.
To compare?
Colors, yeah.
Colors.
New Jack
Hustler.
That?
Okay.
New Jack Hustler, Colors.
Fire.
Yeah, plenty joints, man. Yeah,
that show was fire. He had substantial singles like Veg.
Shit, he had that Cop Killer joint.
Cop Killer. Hey, look, it might not have hit you.
I didn't even include body count. Yeah,
okay,
all right.
Might not have hit you in the head, but the singles.
That's cool. I'm outvoted, so Ice-T gets in.
I think so.
I think so.
All right,
I'm very happy with that.
So what?
Portia, she's like, yo.
I'm very happy about that.
Pac loses.
Listen, Pac lost to Fonte, and I still can't sleep at night.
Right,
but anyway,
What?
Ice-T,
Yeah,
like,
we'll tell you about that later.
like, please understand that at the time, East Coast was so like highlighted for rap, and for someone like Ice-T to popularize gangster rap like that in the West, where people weren't really taking the West seriously, you have to understand that takes a level of influence and impact and substance to get to that level at the climate. I mean, I was in Canada. Like, my opinions are always void and null because I'm Canadian. So I was never in the States when all of these things were going on. But I know that Ice-T was somebody you heard all the time at the time, you know?
Okay.
But that's just me. Sorry. I'm so happy that you guys decided.
Not at all. I always say, if there's holes in my hip hop game, it's gonna be a lot of West Coast hip hop. You know what I mean? It didn't speak to me, but this ain't about me. This is everything. So I got no problem getting outvoted. So Ice-T is in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Let's go with Houdini. Out of Brooklyn, New York, going back to 83.
Yes.
First album, Houdini. They already, like, anybody from Brooklyn, look, this is what we could do. If you say Brook, Hall of Fame, they're in.
Damn, they're in.
Yeah, so we got Houdini's first album was 83. Their second album, Escape, which to me is a hip-hop classic, had the 5 Minutes of Funk, Big Mouth, Freaks Come Out at Night. Their follow-up album with Black and Back had One Love. Then after that, it kind of went downhill with Open Sesame. These niggas went on a goddamn flying carpet, Bag of Tricks, and then eventually they got signed by So Def, which I thought was a dope look by Jermaine Dupri. For people who don't know, Jermaine Dupri was a dancer as a kid with Houdini. So I thought it was totally dope that now he was Jermaine Dupri and he went back and gave his peoples a deal. I thought that was extremely dope. So Houdini, does Houdini get into the Hall of Fame? Ed, you're from Brooklyn. What do you say? Does Houdini get in? Impact, classics, influence, lyrics, longevity. Does Houdini get in?
I think, there was a time when I remember, and I was young. I'm younger than a lot of y'all. I'm younger than all of y'all on the panel, honestly. But no, I remember hearing that Houdini, like my dad played that stuff heavy, and they had joints. I mean, they had the singles. They if I remember, they were pretty big. So yeah, y'all could probably speak more to at the time because your age, but as far as for me, like they're still I felt like at the time they were a household name.
All right, no doubt. Tone, what about you, Houdini and the Hip Hop Hall of Fame?
Man, I'm really on the fence.
All right, we come back to you. If you want, we come back to you. Give you more time to think.
Yeah, come back to me, man.
All right, we come back to you. Rec, what about Houdini, man?
Their time span was short but impactful. You just named off 3 albums that had bangers.
Yeah.
That if we're doing the 80s party, I'm dropping at least 4 of them. Impact is there. Lyrics for the time. I mean, you look at One Love, you look at Big Mouth, Friends. I mean,
right.
For that time period, yes, you have to count them, because if you look at the artists that didn't have what they were able to have as far as the stability, I think they were the culmination of that. Talking about the Cold Crush and all those groups that didn't get the shot that Houdini actually got, that's the culmination of it. They're getting in for me.
All right, Porsche.
Yeah, I agree with Rec. I won't piggyback, but I agree with Rec. Like he nailed it. The singles, the impact of the singles. Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, and for me, Houdini gets in. Like you said, Ed, I was there. The Freaks Come Out at Night, Big Mouth. There's so many classic songs. I felt like Escape was a classic album. And I think they would have gotten more shine, but I know for a lot of times, being next to Run DMC, they just always seemed like the little brother of the two MCs and the DJ. So I felt like Run DMC being so big kind of casted like a shadow over just how dope they were. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think not just that, but a million things that may have made Run DMC better. Yeah. Russell played a huge part in Run DMC. Like if go back, and we gotta talk about. Sorry. What's up, Ed?
No, so I wanted to add something that I just thought of. I think with Houdini, kind of the same with Curtis Blow. I feel like their sound at some point just sounded dated real quick. Yeah. Once the sound of hip hop started changing, like maybe it was their voice or their flows, like they were really old school, and I don't think their sound kind of
transitioned well.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for
right. And the truth be told, that's going to be said for a lot of EMCs that we talk about. But one of the things that I think helped Run DMC, and we'll of course get to them, was Russell's. A lot of things that Run DMC did was because Russell said do it. And I don't know if Houdini had a Russell to be like, this is the new sound we're going to go with. And this is going to be the name of the group. And this is going to be the single. Like, I didn't know until I saw this thing that the Roots were doing on AMC that Run DMC didn't even want the guitars in Rockbox. You know what I mean? They was like, nah, we just want the drums. And Russell was like, fine, we'll put that on the B side, but I think the guitars is going to win. And of course, the guitar, they told the DJs to play the side without the guitar, but they played so again, I think like Russell was a coach for running them, and I think
which is crazy because Run DMC was on Profile, not even on Def Jam, but that's another whole story.
Right. Yeah. And keeping in mind, Larry Smith, who did a lot of work for Houdini, also was doing a lot of stuff for Run DMC too. Vegas, Brooklyn, does Houdini make it?
Yeah, absolutely. For everything everybody said, and I think one thing about Houdini, like thinking about their music, like Ed hit the nail on the head about their sound not being able to transfer to like whatever the next sound is. But I feel like what made Houdini so impactful and even different from Run DMC I think in a different timeline, if we're going to do comic books or whatever, they kind of had the advancement of the old school flow to me versus Curtis Blow. Like Curtis Blow was kind of like standard old school, like a Melly Mel and them rap like that and all that. But there was something about Houdini that felt a little bit more aggressive and lyrical in the way they, the way they spit their rhymes. Maybe they come a little bit more from that Grandmaster Cash tree, where even when you hear him, he's kind of the precursor to Kane. So, but again, when hip hop changed and, they sound like, 5 minutes of funk and all of that wasn't really the sound of the streets, they became casualties of that. But I definitely think they get in because they had all those elements. They have a classic album. They had impact for sure. They had lyrics and flows. They was excellent songwriters. So yeah, man, they had a time where Houdini was shit. You know what I'm saying? You get that little hat with the string with no shirt on in the 80s.
Yeah, that was never dope. But can I make one quick point, Kia?
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, with the panel, Houdini's going to get in, but since we was kind of equating this to like the NBA, Basketball Hall of Fame, to me, Houdini is a Hall of Fame group, but they might not be in first ballot for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were going to get in like the second ballot anyway because they legends and all that. I might not have them as a first ballot, but since we was kind of looking at like the World Hall of Fame of basketball, so no disrespect to Houdini, I love them.
No disrespect at all. Next up, the Fat Boys. You know what I mean? Again, out of Brooklyn. It's a lot of groups coming out of Brooklyn. They have one, two.
Change my shirt. You want me to go put a Brooklyn shirt on? What you doing?
We got 7 albums with the Fat Boys. For me, the Fat Boys get in to the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. I think for me, the first album, Fat Boys, Stick 'em, Can You Feel It, was a classic album. I definitely feel like they had the influence again at that time. People don't say this enough. Kool Rock Ski was a dope ass MC at that time in 1984. Kool Rock Ski was barring niggas before bars were even a thing. And I get it that most people forget you fall into the Fat Boys. I think when people think the Fat Boys, they think of Big and Beautiful and crushing and doing the twist with Chubby Checker and all that bullshit. Go buy that first Fat Boys album. Now my OG schooled me, so he's like, yo, that's a Disco 3 album, which was the Fat Boys' original name before they became the Fat Boys. He's like, that's a Disco 3 album. That was the Disco 3 from Brooklyn back in 83, the way they be rhyming. Kool Rock Ski was barring niggas before they were bars. Buffy on the beatbox was crazy. If you wasn't trying to beatbox like Buff and doing whatever the fucking making noises with your mouth and your hands, like, you were not hip hop. I don't even know what noise I just made. I'm getting old. I definitely think that they had the skills for their time. And I mean, I think they didn't have the longevity, but I'll put an asterisk on that because I felt like the Fat Boys were like the first guinea pigs of hip hop. Like, you know what? We could possibly get y'all in a movie and play some dumb orderlies, and then we could get y'all with Chubby Checker. So I feel like they were hip hop's first guinea pig that didn't allow them to have the longevity. And to me, it's the first, like I said, to go from the Disco 3 just being that first Fat Boys album was just all about hip hop. That's all it was about. It wasn't about no singles. It wasn't about nothing. But then by the second album, the Fat Boys Are Back, it was about singles, and we're going to try to market you this way towards hip hop. So I got the Fat Boys getting in. Porsche, what about you? Porsche, like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it would be ridiculous to say that there wasn't, influential and popular at the time. But I don't know that I would like, because now we have populated the Hall of Fame with people, and now I'm kind of being like, well, like the Fat Boys and Curtis Blow, like, to me, it's just not as equal. Does that make sense? Like, you could make a case for almost anyone in the 80s. So I'm going to pass on the Fat Boys personally, although I love the Fat Boys, but I don't want to put them in there. Sorry.
All right. No, I got none. No reason to be sorry at all. Rec one, you got what's up with the Fat Boys?
Look, man, Jailhouse Rack, Stick 'em. Can You Feel It? I agree with you. I think that they were young and didn't, impressionable. I think their success killed their career, to be honest. And then
And here's the funny part. You talking about Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow managed the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
That's the wild part.
Yeah, he did.
And Curtis was some of the magic behind the scenes to make them the Fat Boys and make them be fat and everything. So just funny that you brought like Curtis Blow Fat Boys and they were the manager. So Rep, what you got? Yeah and nay.
They're on the fence only because, in my opinion, I don't think they got a chance to live up to their full potential. Those first couple albums were fire. And then, like you said, as they started going on to, I don't want to say bigger and better things because it wasn't, and the longevity of it, it killed their career because they got looked at as a novelty act and could not come back from that. We're not doing first ballots. We're just doing, are they getting in, period, right?
You get in or you get out. You in or you out.
They're going to get in, but it ain't going to be on the first ballot.
All right, so what you got?
I swear, man. I love Disco 3, man. My big bro played it all the time, man. You know what I'm saying? So I love the Fat Boys, man. But you know what? Everybody in the 80s can't get in, man. So
exactly.
They can't go in. They can't go in.
Thank you.
Everybody can't get in.
All right. Just keep it in mind. I get you. Everybody can't get in. But for a second in time, the Fat Boys was bigger than fucking Run DMC.
They were.
So I get that everybody can't get in.
Right.
But I mean, what we said earlier with Kane, that if you was the dopest MC, even if it was just for a minute, there was a time when you was the dopest MC.
Okay,
they were popular, not considered the dopest at the time. Kane was the dopest at the time.
But wait, I have a question. Who? And I'm asking this like serious question. Who did like the Fat Boys influence directly?
Biggie.
Prince Marky D influenced like Biggie and
I would say all the heavy set rappers. Like I think Heavy D would be like the Fat Boys influenced me. I didn't think
Prince Marky D did.
But wait, influence like artistically or influence like image wise? Because there's a difference there.
I mean,
I'm talking about musically. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, the Fat Boys were the first heavy set act in hip hop, so every heavy set person afterwards is a product of Fat Boys." Like, that's not enough for me.
I mean, I get you, but then I guess it comes down to how do we break down influence? Because there's a couple of things on here. There may be a couple of acts who, and again, I was just 10 at the time when it came out in 84. Like I said, Fat Boys to me may have been a bigger selling point in Crush Groove than Run DMC. You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, the human beatbox, that shit was huge before we had drum machines. So I get y'all that everybody in the 80s can't get in. But if we talking about who's the first one to beatbox, that's kind of influential because every nigga needed a beatbox. Everybody who had a rap group in the 80s had a nigga who was like, yo, give me the beat. And the niggas beatboxing. Like that.
I agree with that.
That's super influential. Like you invented a job for a nigga who ain't have a job last week.
Yeah,
like Little Mikey didn't do shit last week. Now Little Mikey can beatbox now.
Question for you. And I don't remember, but wasn't Biz Markie in beatbox competition before Buffy was around the same time?
Well, keep in mind, Biz, the first time I heard of Biz was 87. I got the Fat Boys album when I was 10 and 84.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
I'm talking about Biz as a beatboxer. I'm not talking about him as a,
I mean, right. Even with Shantae, with Def Guy, I know what you're talking about. That's like Shantae is like 85, 86. So Buff that was his tagline, the original human beatbox. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So to me, the original human beatbox, that's influenced like like that's huge. Like everybody is beatboxing now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So that's even to folks like Scratch and Rozelle on the Roots, So yeah.
Well, and Fresh and everybody else too. So that's true.
Yeah.
Ray, what about you?
Well, first of all, me and Tone did a whole episode on the Fat Boys on that time in hip hop. Obviously, that don't have nothing to do with like Hall of Fame. I think like as far as influence, I think in a lot of respects, when people look back on the Fat Boys, they think of the pop stuff. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, some people who were back then, know the true hip hop stuff, but I think they look at the novelty act. But you already said it, like Kool Rock Ski was nice, like not just a
he
good
was
rapper.
barring niggas in '84. He was
He
nice.
solo. He could be
Yo, truth be told, Kool Rock Ski may have been better than Run. Like at this time, like he was barring niggas.
He was,
he was dope. And look, human beatbox. You know what I'm saying? Buffy, one of the greatest beatboxers of all time. I mean, he was the one I preferred over Dougie Fresh, over Biz in a lot of respects. Maybe him and Biz I had neck and neck, mainly because of the bass and their beatboxing. But he like beatboxing was a skill on par with, are you a dope MC? Are you a dope DJ? Are you a dope dancer? And to be that guy when it comes to beatboxing, and then you got a bar king over here, then you got a light skinned dude. But
in the 80s too.
In the 80s, that's all. But nah, even Prince Marky D was nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Marky D was nice too.
Yeah, he was nice too. So it wasn't just that they was just the disorderlies. You know what I'm saying? Or they was a Chubby Checker record. They were like respected as MCs, as hip hop artists, as parts of the culture. But I feel like their impact isn't as great as some others. You know what I'm saying? I look at the impact of the people we put in. I just don't think the Fat Boys, you can, you know, obviously you can draw a line to a Biggie and a Heavy D and others, but it's not as clear because you can draw lines from other rappers to them as well. So I would say the Fat Boys, you know, they're not getting in. They're definitely not on the first ballot. If they got in, it's because, you know, other people ahead of them got in. But yeah, Fat Boys, damn.
All right. Damn. Goddamn, niggas invented the goddamn beatbox.
No,
Get the fuck in. This is rough. Y'all a rough fucking crowd. Like, not dead ass. Like, this nigga invented a skill that nobody had before. And this nigga don't get in?
No, Kill, he would go into a Hall of Fame as an individual. Does that make sense? Like, he's not enough to carry the whole group into this Hall of Fame
like,
for
God,
me.
I mean, he would go in the Hall of Fame with like.
No, I was gonna say, I get it. They don't get in. I challenge y'all. Go back and listen to this album and listen to the bar work.
But that's one
that is going on here in 1984.
I have it downstairs. In
1984, niggas is rapping like, I go to the store, I pick up a tree. No, this shit, these niggas was barring niggas in 84, but I get it. They don't get in. Cool. All right, let's go to somebody else.
Shit came on as a matter of fact.
All right, let's go to Salt and Pepper. 85 is when Salt and Pepper came on the scene. They dropped Showstopper, which was the answer to Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick the show. Dropped their album Hot, Cool, and Vicious in 86. I believe that's a hip-hop classic. You're talking Tramp, Push It, I'll Take Your Man, My Mic Sounds Nice. Dropped the second album, Assault with a Deadly Pepper, with Shake Your Thing and all that. Black's Magic, very necessary, brand new. Questionable did they write their rhymes because Herb was writing a lot of their rhymes. Now I'm hearing it's questionable if Herb was even doing the fucking beat. So I don't know what the hell was going on in Queens at that time. But Salt and Pepper, do they get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame based off of impact, classics, lyrics, skills, and longevity? Tone, what do you got on Salt and Pepper?
Look, man, at one point, Salt and Pepper was literally the female version of Run DMC. It's really that simple. I was around at that time. You were too. You remember when Push It came out? It changed hip hop because it drew in millions of females to hip hop. So at one point, I mean, females always been a part of the culture. Don't get me wrong, but Salt and Pepper opened the door wide open for not only female fans but female MCs. Because after them, MC Light talked about this on T.I.'s show recently. After Salt and Pepper, MC Light wanted to be a rapper. You know, Shantae was coming around at that time. All these other females jumped in and rapping. Of course, Shy Rock was before all of them, but you know what I'm saying? It was more or less, she wasn't, you know, mainstream. You know what I'm saying? So Salt and Pepper is the standard and the first basically female hip hop superstars. Now, I like Black Magic a whole lot as far as the album, but You talking about legendary singles. I mean, they got 5 or 6 legendary singles that people still play today in skating rings and clubs, old school sets. I mean, I don't even need to go any further. Salt and Pepper, first ballot, first whatever. They in there.
All right, no doubt. Eddie, Salt and Pepper?
Yeah, I mean they in there. I mean they had big singles. I mean they had the influence. I mean I think they came out as a female hip hop group, and they weren't a novelty act. I mean they were dope. I mean they could rap. I mean they had dope beats. I mean for the time, yeah man, they're in for me.
Question. But they didn't write their rhyme, so they get the pass.
I give them, I give them a pass for that asterisk. I mean, that's kind of what I said, when we started. I mean, I think, if we talk about not writing rhymes, I feel like there's a lot of females who, would suffer because of that. But I think at the time, I think, I don't know what it was, whether it was a Big Brother thing or whatnot. Like, all right, let me help you write your rhymes. But, I still think they're impactful and influential. So I'm not, and yeah.
All right, Veg, what about you?
Absolutely. Salt and Pepper, definitely. First ballot in not only because they had the rhymes and the skills, even regardless of any ghostwriting, but also they got the classic songs. And more importantly, when you look at the landscape of certain artists now, they were the first to be able to be feminine in their lyrics, because there was a lot of female MCs that were just like dudes, you know what I'm saying? And we liked them, and that was probably why a lot of female MCs had male ghostwriters, because it was a male dominated genre for the most part. So it was kind of like, well, nobody's gonna like it if you ain't just like this dude or that dude or that dude. But they brought the sex appeal into it, which opened the door for like Little Kim and Foxy Brown to kind of like take it even further, even to some rappers you have now. But back then, the women's clothes was just as baggy as the dudes. But Salt and Pepper come out with Push It. They got the tights on, you know what I'm saying? They got the jackets. I remember sisters and God sisters wanting to look just like them, you know what I'm saying? Dress like them and everything. So
I remember Salt was one of I'm sorry, babe.
No, go ahead.
Were you saying
and Salt at one point was, she's kind of like the first female sex symbol in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like both of them, you know what I'm saying? But Salt was really, a lot of people was really feeling her, you know what I'm saying? And then they had the Let's Talk About Sex and Express Yourself and all of that stuff. So yeah, they did open the door for that type of vulnerability for a female artist in hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this. I remember staying in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and watching a goddamn Tramp video every day, like on repeat. Like, because on the third verse, like Salt pulls up her shirt like halfway, and I'm like a little 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, Salt and Pepper was dope. If nobody has ever heard this album, please, I beg of you. Hot, Cool, and Vicious. Mm-hmm. Push It, Beauty and the Beat, Tramp, I'll Take Your Man, Chick on the Side, I Desire. Mm-hmm. Showstopper, My Mic Sounds Nice, 5 Mics, Porsche. Did Salt and Pepper get in?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And I say that Tone and Eddie and Vegas already kind of mentioned it, but like Salt and Pepper was the thing when I was in the middle of the prairies of Canada. Like I always go back to that because you guys do not understand how absent hip hop culture was there. And Salt and Pepper, for some reason, was the biggest thing there. Like I remember it so clearly. They like penetrated that type of environment or that, that kind of area. So to me, that's huge. That's huge. So yes, 100% they're in.
All right, Veg, you about to say something?
Yeah, I think when you look at like what we said about the Fat Boys, how they tried to, they tried to popularize them and take them into the pop culture side, but it took a lot away from them. Whereas with Salt and Pepper, they easily were able to like transition into pop culture because they were just that big and that good, and they were already good the way they were. So once they started making some of those, I guess more pop culture commercial records, They didn't lose a lot of steam, unlike the Fat Boys.
Right. Rex, Salt and Pepper.
Yeah, they get it on influence alone for me.
Mhm.
You got half of New York walking around with a shaved fucking head.
I was just about to say the funny thing about this haircut, if people can see it, that haircut, Pepper said she messed up her hair.
She
like
did.
that, this was a mistake, and then you just had everybody. That's how influential hip hop was. That even you you mess up your hair, and it becomes a style. So, all right, Salt and Pepper's in. Let's stay with Queens and Herbie Love Bug. Kid and Play, 3 albums. 2 Hype, 88. Funhouse in 90. Face the Nation, 91. First dropped in 87 with Last Night Changed It All. Why you telling me to stop, man? That's disrespectful.
No, vague. I'm like vague from the gate.
I'm just talking to myself. Don't worry.
I mean,
I just can't believe what I'm going to say. That's all.
All right, Vabel, why don't we start with you?
Man, if the Fat Boys don't get in, Kid and Play.
So, are we across the board that Kid and Play is not getting in?
Not getting in.
Can't get in.
All right. I understand. I ain't got no problem.
And I like them too.
Yo, you know the funny thing, Porsche? Here's the funny thing, Porsche. I now feel your pain because I'm still fucking pissed about the Fat Boys. So I feel your pain now about
my pain is like
so
astronomically more because
I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Tupac. This is Tupac.
I feel your pain. I like how you said that, Vegas. If the Fat Boys don't get in, no goddamn Kid and Play. Okay, cool.
I think House Party gets in as a hip hop movie, but not Kid and Play.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to my part of town, Philly, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums. To me, Rock the House. Their first album was a classic with Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, everything like that. I mean, Jazzy Jeff, one of the dopest MCs ever. I know Fresh Prince isn't known for it. And I think that this is a hard part about the 80s. Because, again, I'm going to bring it up. I'm now becoming Porsche with Drake. With the Fat Boys, I feel like Cool Rock Ski was a dope MC, but like Vague said, when most people, I feel like if you weren't 10, if you're not 46, I don't know if you really truly understand the impact of that first Fat Boys album. Because like Vague said, you see them as the Disco 3. I feel like if you weren't there in 85, 86, when Will was a battle MC in Philly, so I get it. I totally understand why most people don't look at Will Smith as a dope MC, because when they think about him, they're thinking of parents just don't understand. I think I could beat Mike Tyson. I mean, shit, by the third album, I wrote Will Smith off.
Yeah, but they want to think about brand new funk, though.
Yeah. Right. We're going to get there. We're going to get there because, I mean, I definitely think Jeff and Will get in. It could be the Philly bias because, again, I was there. I knew about Will Smith being a battle MC. We did a Philly ep about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and people were like, yo, I had no idea what the hell y'all was talking about with Will Smith. Like, I had no idea he was coming up to radio stations, battling Steady B right there on the spot. And I'm like, yeah, Will was a battle MC. But I get it, because if you only know about Will Smith from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then why would you know anything about those days? So, to me, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince get in. Again, I feel like they had the influence, the impact. They had one classic for me. I felt like at that time, Will Smith had dope flows. He had skills. And again, I don't think some people say they had the longevity. Again, by the third album, I was kind of done. And to me, after that, it was just, Summertime. And I don't mean to say just Summertime, because Summertime is probably one of the greatest hip hop songs ever. Well, I don't think the summer session can ever get set off until somebody plays that song. But I think they get in. Tone, what do you think about Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince?
I think the influence is going to get them in. You think about the influence Jazzy Jeff has had on producers in hip hop, and then just with Will Smith being a star, he kind of took, what Curtis Blow and other people did, and he ran with it and parlayed that into Hollywood. But in terms of just the music, he was a good rapper. And again, you think about Summertime, it's probably one of the top 5 of 10 relevant songs that they'll play at cookouts for, 50 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about impact and influence. People start trying to make little summer anthems and things like that after Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff made Summertime. So I think the cultural impact of both of them together and separate, and the tree that came from under both of them will get them in, man. So I'm gonna say I'll say yeah.
All right, Veg, what about you?
I say yeah for a lot of the same reasons. I think a lot of people don't understand that the Fresh Prince meant something totally different before it was an NBC show. Like he was considered like an MC, like to be reckoned with. You know what I'm saying? Even having the versatility to do a song like Parents Just Don't Understand just shows his versatility. And then DJ Jazzy Jeff is one of the best DJs ever. I think people who weren't there saw glimpses of it when they go to like DJ Jazzy Jeff Instagram and see a video of him scratching, and they like, damn, I didn't know he got down like that. Or like in the case of Will Smith, he would sway, he'd do brand new funk.
Right.
People looking at Will Smith like, wait a minute, who's this guy? This ain't Big Willie style. Like, no, this is the Fresh Prince. Mm-hmm. So I think, influence, skill, impact, they definitely, I mean, even though at the time people didn't really want them to win the Grammy, this was still, like you said, this is a battle rapper won the Grammy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he won it for having different songs, but I think it just speaks to the talent of them as a group. So I think they definitely get it.
All right. If you've never peeped this album, go listen to it. Rock the House. I mean, Jesus Christ, you can see how young these dudes are. If you can kind of see Jeff, like they look like kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So crazy dope album. Wreck. Does Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince get in?
Yeah, for the same reasons everybody else did. No piggyback.
All right, Porsche. What about you?
Yep, gets in.
All right, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince get in.
Hey, can I make one quick little comment?
Yeah, please do.
I thought it was very dope when when the guy Jordan Lucas did that song dedicated to Will Smith, and when Will Smith came back and did that remix. I mean, the dude sounded real good on that song, man. As a 50-plus-year-old dude, I thought it was nice.
And Tone, you bring up a good point with that, and it goes back to something you said earlier, Porsche, with ghostwriters. Because Veg and I both know somebody who was a ghostwriter for Will, but he, like you said, Porsche, he had been writing for years prior to that. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great point too of bringing that in. That because as soon as you said that, the first thing that popped in my head, Tone, was he probably didn't write that shit, and it made me start thinking about. Right. But it made me start thinking about ghostwriters, but then it brought back to what Porsche said earlier about Will had been a writer for so long, and now that you need help. All right, Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince to end. Special Ed, another Brooklynite. Youngest in Charge, 89. Legal, 90. I believe Youngest in Charge is a 5 mic classic. I believe Legal is a goddamn great 4.5. Catch me on the right day, I'll give it 5. Revelations was not good in 95 and still got it made in 2004. I won't even hold you. I ain't even hear it. So Special Ed, the Special Ed get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. As much as I love Youngest in Charge and Legal, I can't put them into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Tone, what about you?
This hurts, man. But I'm going to have to say no.
Eddie, you've already said.
For a minute.
No, I said no. For me, it's even though that first album to me is a bona fide classic, as an MC, I don't feel like he was never on the top of the heap, so the grace that Big Daddy Kane got, Special Ed doesn't get because he was never considered a top MC. He never held that mantle. So, his chance would be to have the longevity and multiple dope albums. And I mean, I think the 2 is just not enough.
All right. Veg, what about you?
I don't think so. He didn't have the longevity to me. Obviously, he had 2 dope albums. Also, I don't think he had that big of an impact. He was one of many dope MCs around that time. Obviously top tier, but I don't think anybody ever really had him at number 1, maybe in certain moments or whatever. But and like you said, skill wise, he was dope, but I just think he wasn't like enough to be in a Hall of Fame.
All right, right.
Nah, I agree with Veg. I just don't think he had enough. I agree with you. Those first 2 albums, like they stay in my rotation.
Yeah.
I love that second album, 12-Year-Old Kid. I banged that shit till the tape broke, but he just didn't have that one thing that took him over to vote him in.
Hey, Rick, you talking about that song "You Wish You Could"?
Come on, man.
that stays on repeat at the crib, though. All the time.
That was one of the first albums that I would listen to try to repeat the scratches on the hook.
Wow.
Like, first getting my turntables at 12 and listening to those albums, you want to emulate what you hear. And that was one of the first songs that I tried. Who was that? Howie T? I tried to do that scratch for at least 6 months. I got it down now, but I tried that shit, man. But no, he just doesn't take him over the hump, man. Sad, but
what about you, Porsche?
Yeah, I'm with what everyone said. I don't think he gets in.
All right, so special ed isn't in. Here's another question mark. The funny thing, I thought this person I would have put him in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, but now looking at our criteria, I'm wondering where this is gonna go. We're gonna go with Bismarck. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums going off, which is a classic to me. The Biz Never Sleeps, I Need a Haircut, All Samples Cleared, and Weekend Warrior. I'm on the fence right now because he doesn't have a discography. He doesn't have the longevity. I can't ever say like he had the lyrics or the flow or the skills because he wasn't writing his rhymes. And then when he was writing his rhymes, I wasn't getting fucking the Vapors, and I wasn't getting that caliber from when Kane was writing his rhymes to when he started writing his rhymes. I gotta say, Biz don't get in for me. I mean, that's crazy for me, but I'm just looking at prior to this show. If you would have asked me, I would have been like, hell yeah, Biz gets in. But looking at the criteria we came up with, I mean, I don't know if I can put him in. You know what I mean? Tone, what about you?
Once again, this hurts. I don't think Biz gets in first ballot for me right now.
Okay.
A lot of impact, a lot of whatever, but I can't put him in right now.
Now, I'm going to go to you, Porsche, but let me ask this because I want us to be cognizant of the words we're using. Impact. What impact did Biz have on other people? Like, where can we draw a line like a family tree diagram? Like, who did Biz influence?
Well, one thing he did was the all samples when he had to go to court.
But that's not a positive. That's not a positive. Just because you got robbed, because you got robbed. Like,
it taught other people how not to get robbed, though.
Right. But what I'm just saying is like that wasn't purposeful. Like,
that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Him being the first person to get sued for sampling clearance, I can't say was influential in the culture.
It made people make sure they got their shit cleared before they get their music out.
Right. But for me, I can't say that's an influence. You know what I mean? Like, that's like saying, 50 influenced people to watch their back before they get in their car because he got shot 9 times. So, shit, we got, 50 save lives because after 50, you got to watch your back. Like, that's really not influence. I would think when we're saying influence, and I would think we're thinking about on the mic, who did you influence to say, I want to rap like Biz or I want to be like Biz? You know what I mean?
If people start making more like comical, hip hop and songs and things of that nature after Biz Market, like just when he did Just a Friend and Spring Again and Young Girl Blues and all this shit. I mean, did people start making those kind of tracks?
I think more people were making that prior to Biz because I was painting Nate's room one day and we was listening to one of my old school mixes and we was listening to Dana Dane's Nightmare and Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble. And she was like, yo, y'all was real silly.
It ain't before Biz though.
No, but keeping in mind, Biz, the first album, 88 came out. I mean, Going Off came out in 88. Dana Dane, Cinderfella, that's 86. Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble is 86. You know what I mean? And keep in mind the songs you're talking about, Just a Friend, that's 1990.
That's 90.
We're now in the 90s now, so nobody's making comedic hip hop anymore. You know what I'm saying? Niggas too hard for it. Big, does Biz get in?
It's difficult to say that because I think what Biz has is, I think in certain categories, I think he has impact. There was a time where Biz had the hit singles. Like I would turn on, Mr. Magic, and you could do a quick set of Biz, and it was first album was out. You know what I'm saying?
Trust me, I champion Going Off, and I never understand why nobody calls it a 5 mic classic. Because to me, every song on there was classic.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
So trust me, it hurts me too.
I feel like he got the one classic. I feel like he got the impact, but he definitely don't have the longevity. There's the lyric situation with the ghostwriters and stuff like that. Impact on other people. It's like he had an impact, just like Buffy had an impact, but it's not like Rozelle, like Rozelle was dope because it was dope to see beatboxing kind of come back a little bit to the mainstream, but it was short lived. It was like a novelty thing. So as tough as it sounds weird to say Biz doesn't get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
Like I said before this show, before we came up with the criteria, if you would have asked me, it wouldn't even been a question mark. But we gotta go based off the criteria we came up with. Porsche, what about you, Biz?
Yeah, I don't put Biz in there, but I just want to say, like, Biz is a super likable guy, you know, like I think that's where I'm having trouble, like in my head, as you guys are talking, I'm like, God damn that criteria. Because when you come up with a criteria, you kind of got to check the boxes. And if you don't check the boxes, like as much as, again, like I said, Biz is one of the most likable MCs. Like you just like the guy. He's awesome. But unfortunately for this caliber of, you know, like whatever we're like this whole Hall of Fame caliber, unfortunately, Biz just comes up a little short.
What are you gonna say, Ed?
Yeah, so I want to say that so we're talking about MCs and groups. If we had like a section of the Hall of Fame for like hip hop elements that say like, you know, you can include, you know, beatboxers, which Biz will fall into, along with, you know, breakers, graph artists, DJs, you know, all the other elements. I think
you know
get in for that. Along with the Fat Boys, they'll be in for that. But as an MC, I don't think he gets in.
Well, you know what I was gonna say? Then maybe we should open it up to that. You know, and it should be for the whole culture. So if we're not just talking about MCs, then and we want to salute DJs and we want to salute breakers and everything else like that, where does Biz fit into that criteria?
I think he got to be up there as far as like influential beatboxers. I mean, he wasn't the first, but you know, I think at his time, like he was highly recognized, and he was doing it on a big stage. You know, and,
did you just use the Biz line that he was highly recognized?
Highly recognized as the kicker we saw.
Right. Okay, I like that, Ed. I see.
Exactly why I started laughing.
I see Playboy. All right, so yeah, we'll have to break that up too, because you're right. If this is similar to the NBA, if this is the Basketball Hall of Fame, if it's the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, then can't just be, you know, for that. So we will come back to Biz, because for everybody, this is a series of shows. We're gonna go through every era, and we ain't getting through the 80s tonight. So you know, it's still a million groups on here. Let's go ahead. The Beastie Boys. They came out in 85. I apologize, 85. I feel like they got the classic album with License to Ill. They got Paul's Boutique, Check Your Head, Ill Communication, Hello Nasty, The Five Boroughs, The Mix Up, Hot Sauce, Committees too. For me, again, I think this is hard. I would say yes. And this is why I'm going to say yes. In 86, License to Ill was humongous. They had a huge influence on white MCs. I don't know, without the Beastie Boys, do we get a third base? Do we get an Eminem? Do we get that? And I'll say this. If you haven't seen this, and on Apple TV, they have a Beastie Boys documentary. Watch that. That made me respect the Beastie Boys, because there was so much I didn't know. Because I won't hold you. I checked out after License to Ill. When I heard Paul's Boutique and I didn't hear that Rick Rubin type sound, and I kind of wrote the Beastie Boys off. You know what I mean? So, but from after watching that and then going back and listening to Check Your Head and Ill Communication, you know, even if we have to put a pin in this for people, because if anybody was like me and checked them off after License to Ill, I don't think it's fair to really kind of comment. You know, I always say it's on the timeline. I hate arguing with people and then they be like, oh yeah, I never heard that. Well, what the fuck we been arguing about then? Like, so I feel like we got to be, this may be something we put a pin in and come back later, but I highly recommend, if you haven't been a fan like throughout the years, watch that documentary. I had no idea the influence they had in hip hop, outside of hip hop, worldwide, just everything. So I think they get in. I'm seeing heads shaking. So Tone, the Beastie Boys, do they get in?
Look, man, my brother's a DJ in the 80s, and when that License to Ill came out, he played that shit as much as he played Run DMC and whoever else that was large out at the time. I mean, Beastie Boys took not just rap but music by storm with License to Ill. You know, and even if they follow-up albums were huge albums, not just the hip hop, but again, they did start, you know, going into other, you know, segments of music, and it was still highly respected, man. But they have to be in. You know what I'm saying? There's just nowhere around. The viewers around during that time, the damn Beastie Boys came out like the Beatles. You know what I'm saying? Like they were really, like you said, you saw this documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but I remember.
It's
I'm
so
gonna
dope.
watch it,
It's
but
so
I just
dope.
remember, and they had a lot of style, man, and they were fun. The production, first of all, like it was just incredible.
Which I didn't know that Ad Rock did the bulk of. It wasn't Rick Rubin. Ad Rock did the bulk
okay. I think I remember hearing that. It just, yeah, not to be the dead horse. They're in for me, man. Just it is what it is.
All right. What about you, Porsche?
Yeah, I mean, like you guys may or may not know, I don't really mess with Beastie Boys that much. I don't in general, but License to Ill took over, I think, everything at the time that it released. I remember it so clearly. And whether it's a gift or a curse, it opened up hip hop to a lot of to a demographic that otherwise may not have heard hip hop before. And to me, that's very, very notable. So for that reason alone, I mean, it would be silly. I don't love License to Ill. You'll never see me talk about it. I'll never bring it up. It's not on my top list, but I do recognize it as a classic album. I know the impact it had because I was very much alive at the time. And for the same reason, Beastie Boys, I mean, they, like Tone said, like they just did a lot as a white group in hip hop at the time. Like it was just crazy. So yeah, for me, they definitely get in.
All right, Vague.
Absolutely, for all the same reasons everybody else said.
All right, Eddie.
Yeah, man. I think, you know, definitely License to Ill is a classic. You know, they got the records, the influence. I mean, I think the way, you know, what they were able to do to the hip hop genre and kind of open it up. You know, a lot of experimentation. You know, I think we look back now, like if someone wasn't aware at the time of where hip hop was, and you know they look back and they may not see the experimentation, but at the time it was, and they continue to do it. You know, with each of their albums. I saw the documentary too. You know, so yeah, it's eye opening, but I do remember those records as well. So yeah, they definitely get in.
All right. And Rec, you good?
Yeah, I think they get in just based off of impact. I think them being the first major white group to go crazy as they did, I think that helped push the culture,
right,
mainstream wise. So they get in.
All right, no doubt. For people who didn't see it, Apple TV, get the free week just to look at that documentary. Totally eye opening. Like I said, I had checked out right after License to Ill. I heard Paul's Boutique. I didn't like it at that time. I've learned to like it now just because like it didn't sound like License to Ill. So I was like, yo, what happened at that time? There was no internet. I didn't know they weren't on Def Jam. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't realize they left the label. It was just like, yo, this don't sound like this. I don't like this, but please watch the documentary. Let's get two more in before we call it a night. Slick Rick the Ruler. We're talking about 85 coming out with the 12-inch of Lottie Dottie in the show. Two of hip-hop's biggest songs ever. So just that alone, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, his debut album, I feel like is a 5-mic classic. The Ruler's Black. I'm probably the only black person alive who loves that album. I don't think it's a classic, but I love that album. And then The Art of Storytelling, which was Rick after getting out of jail with Behind Bars and all of that good stuff. For folk who don't know, Rick got locked up, I want to say back in 87, 88, and did his bid. It was the 90s?
Yeah, it was
my bad. So then he got locked up in 90. So that of course derailed his career. But I definitely have Slick Rick given in. I mean, for everything that's on here, impact, influence, flow, skills, the longevity piece is there. I mean, it's kind of fucked up because of jail, but you know, I think for everything else, he definitely gets in. Porsche, Slick Rick.
100%. And I mean, right. Yeah, you nailed it. He checks all the boxes.
All right. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I think just off those first few singles with Dougie Fresh and his debut album, I feel like he will get in. But then, the fact that he came back in '99 and dropped that Art of Storytelling album, which was dope.
Yeah.
Dope for the time. Like, he didn't sound dated, like for what was the first records, like 82, 83?
Like,
Well,
Lottie Dottie,
like 99 is 84, it's 84,
84, whatever. But I mean, for him to come back, be locked up, come back, 99, and put out an album that was a contemporary album, all the features he had. I mean, crazy. I had Outkast on there and Raekwon. Nah, he gets in.
All right, no doubt. Rec, what about you?
Anytime Ghostface asks you for your jewelry for a show, and you show up and give him all your truck jewelry, his influence is there, man. I think he's influenced a good portion of the '90s rappers.
Storytelling.
You look at Nas, you look at all of those rappers, and they're gonna tell you, I'm a descendant of Slick Rick in one way, shape, or form. He gets in, period.
All right, so
look, Lottie Dottie, the show, a children's story.
Yeah.
I just stopped right there. Culturally impactful songs. I mean, Slick Rick is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper in a lot of cases. That's the reason why in 1999 he can have Outkast and Raekwon and Nas and all these people on the Art of Storytelling. It's a respect thing because those like his sons in terms of storytelling. Scarface and a lot of Ice Cube, a lot of these guys got a lot of the ideas for stories from Slick. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just Great Adventures was considered at the time it came out right there on the same level as your Paid in Fulls and you Take a Nation of Millions. You know what I mean? That's how large Slick Rick debut was. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, every box is checked, man. That's the ruler, baby. Come on.
All right. And Veg, what about you?
Yeah, I think he checks every box, especially considering the longevity, because the album in between, the two albums in between The Ruler's Back, which was somewhat a disappointment to me, even though there's records on there I like, and Behind Bars were records that were released once he was already in prison. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the two albums that were released when he was a free man, you know what I'm saying? And look how far, one is in 88, the other one's in 99.
Yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's not only the impact he had on earlier, but the skills to sustain it. The hit records, like you said, Lottie Dottie and The Show were huge before he even dropped an album. You know what I'm saying? And Slick Rick was one of the main reasons why. I mean, you had Snoop Dogg do that record over. You had Nas rap like him on several songs like way later. Jay-Z did this song called The Ruler's Back. Like, Slick Rick is ingrained in hip hop, so his first ballot, easy.
All right.
And it's funny you say that about Lottie Dottie. Going back, that's the first time I can remember hearing curses in hip hop, because I could remember having to go to my man's house because his older brother had the record. You know what I mean? With your wrinkle pussy. I can't, like, niggas wasn't cursing in songs like that and talking about all that. And the first time I heard about Bally's was Slick Rick. Even fashion, Rick had that thing. You talk about influence, shit. Look at Dana Dane's ass. That nigga was, he was Slick. You know what I mean? Like, Dane was like, yo, he's from London. I'm like, talking about Dana Dane. I'm like, nah, he ain't from London. She was like, so why is he rapping like he from London? Ain't that fronting? You said fronting ain't good. I was like, yeah, it's not. I'm like, shit, now you got me rethinking hip hop. And that all came from Slick Rick, So, all right, let's get out of here with an easy one. LL Cool J started in 85, 13 albums. To me, Radio is a classic. Bigger and Deffer is a classic. Mama Said Knock You Out is a classic. Mr. Smith is a damn good album. Influences there. I mean, slow jams. I mean, maybe hip hop's first sex symbol. I mean, not to mention the battle raps he's had throughout the years and the times and everything like that. So to me, he checks every box. I mean, hell, with 84 Radio came out, and I want to say Mr. Smith had to be 94. Put it this way. When Radio came out, I was in 5th grade. When Mr. Smith came out, I was a sophomore in college.
Yep.
If that ain't a run, I don't know what the fuck is a run. If you can go from 84 to college and you've been the soundtrack of my life for that long, You know, and this is why I tell people L's in my top 10. And people like LL, I'm like, nigga, you must be 30 or younger to not think that LL. I mean, if you don't have him there, that's cool. But to me, I don't know. When you talk about longevity, that just speaks to me. You know what I mean? And I'm saying 3 classic albums out of 5 or out of the 6, like that's a good run right there. Like, so yeah, Porsche L.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. He's so multifaceted, and I feel like he just has so much skills in so many different ways that he's like a crowd pleaser. I don't know how else to say it. He just, dudes love him, girls love him. Like he's just, yeah. I mean, he's fantastic for sure.
All right.
Yeah, man. Longevity alone, he gets in, dog. I ain't even got the piggyback to keep going. He gets in.
So we good with L getting in. Everybody knows L gets in.
Checks every box and creates new ones, man.
Yep.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah,
And one quick comment, real quick. I was listening to the GOAT album the other day, and just the intro song on the GOAT album, I was like, damn, it's 2000, and this dude is really rapping like this, but he's starting the same era that Run DMC and the Fat Boys were in. I mean, he's really rhyming on the GOAT album. You know what I'm saying? Like lyrical. Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. It's just insane, man. I mean, this Uncle L, man, it goes without saying.
And again, not for nothing, he's battled. You know, he may be the most battle-tested MC ever in history. You know what I mean? And never ducked the we gonna end with this one. I don't know where this is gonna go. Kool Moe Dee. We are talking about the Treacherous 3, but we're talking about 80s, so we're talking about him as a solo artist. First album was Kool Moe Dee, 1986. Go See the Doctor. I used to love that song. You know what I mean? How You Like Me Now. I can't say it was a classic album for me, but The Wild Wild West and How You Like Me Now are 2 classic songs. I mean, I doubt you put on How You Like Me Now and not get somebody who's over 40 nodding their head, reminiscing, remembering, you know, whatever. He had Knowledge is King, Funky Wisdom, and I'm gonna stop with the 2000s because I didn't even know he dropped the album in 2016. We just gonna stop with that. Personally, they said this nigga had an album in 2015 called Brand New Heat, an album in 2016 called Notice. I'm assuming this is a song, Are You Beautiful, with Steve Arrington from 2007.
Wow, he did a song with Steve Arrington?
And for people who don't know, Steve Arrington is I Make You Weak in the Knees, Steve Arrington. And then there's a song called Yeah.
What'd you say, man?
He said basically Danny Terrio. Why are you in the club with Danny Terrio? And then it says he had a song, I guess, called Bodium with Earth, Wind, and Fire in 2018. I don't know. I have no idea how Kool Moe Dee linked up with Earth, Wind, and Fire like 30 years after Earth, Wind, and Fire was dope. Like, right. I don't have Moe Dee getting in. I'm sorry. I don't feel like he checks the boxes for me. I don't feel like, you know, he does it for me. So, and not for me, because one of the things I should have said at the top of the show is that this has nothing to do with like, and I it's not like I dislike Moe Dee. I don't think anybody up here dislikes any of the MCs that are going to come across this page until we get to Drake finally for Porsche. But I don't think that, you know, but getting in the Hall of Fame ain't about like, you know, this ain't like, oh man, I can't put such in the Basketball Hall of Fame because I ain't like the fucking Bulls. Like, you can't. This has nothing to do with like.
But Drake never gets in because he doesn't write. So, like that.
Well, remember we gave other people asterisks, but we're not even going to go into Drake. We are nowhere near the 2000s right now.
Thank
so
God.
we just going to stay here.
Because that's
right, we just going to stay here. But for me, he just doesn't check the boxes. And again, I was a Moe Dee fan. Like that first album, Kool Moe Dee, Go See the Doctor, that was huge for me. But I can't give it to him. Vague. Kool Moe Dee, does he get into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame?
I don't think so, man. I think he's like special ed, but probably rated higher. You know what I'm saying? Because he had more of an impact. You know, he did a lot more. You know, he was a battle rapper too, but he definitely don't have the longevity. LL saw to that. Who's the GOAT? But I kind of feel like with Moe Dee, it's like, nah, he just doesn't check enough of the boxes for me. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of classic songs. You know what I'm saying? He probably has a classic album to some. But I just don't think like the totality of his career and his impact and everything that we think about for some of these other artists. I just think he was like a moment in time and really only remembered by those that were there. So
good point. Porsche, Mo D.
Well, I was just going to say exactly that. Like, he just wasn't memorable enough. So for me, it's just sort of fleeting. Like, it was a moment in time, but not long enough to sort of, check those boxes. So for me, no, doesn't get in.
All right. Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we had talked about this offline. I think he's probably more remembered for the battle with LL. And, it's debatable whether, who won or what not. But, I think when you look at careers, LL took off and he kind of took a dive.
Right.
So I think that speaks a lot. So, no, I don't think he gets in.
Funny thing with Mo D in the battles is I've always, he, of course, for people who don't know, in 85, he battled Busy B. 84 maybe. At
No, it was before that.
83?
Yeah, it was around 82, 83, the Harlem World battle, man. Yeah.
All right. And it's funny because Mo D basically beat Busy B because Busy B was the chief rocker party MC. So Busy B coming in there on some old throw your hands in the air and, he's the master of ceremonies. Back in the day, for people who don't realize this, the DJ was bigger than the MC in the beginning of hip hop. People came to see Grandmaster Flash. They didn't come to see nobody else rap. They came to hear Kirk and the DJs. That's why you had the DJ's name coming first for a lot of groups, because the DJ was more important than the MC. So I think Busy came to that battle like, hey, I'm coming to rock the party. And Mo D went for the jugular. And I guess like Tone said, in 82, 83, that was like, oh shit. Like niggas rapping niggas rapping like this. But then the same thing happened to Mo D because I felt like L was a step ahead with the lyrics. So like the same thing he did to Busy B, I felt got done to Mo D basically. Rec, what about you? Does Mo D get in?
Nah, the only thing I remember Cool Mo D for is that damn coat he had on in the self-destruction fucking video. Like Veg said, man, his career just ain't do it for me. I don't see much influence. Albums, no. Lyrics, maybe, but overall, no.
All right. And Tone, what about you?
All right, so for me, real quick, and I'm in the minority. Mo D is one of the exceptions to the rules to me. I can't imagine the Hip Hop Hall of Fame without Kool Moe Dee in it, because at one point when we was really young, people literally considered the first three kings of hip hop to be Mo D, Mel Mel, and Grandmaster Caz. When he did the battle with Busy B, he actually made battling famous. This has been spoken about Rakim and Kane. Everybody talked about that. That tape, that Harlem World tape, circulated in New York, all on the East Coast. It even made it to California. You know what I'm saying? So battle rapping became famous because Kool Moe Dee destroyed Busy B. Now, what happens? That KRS One talked about that. Maybe there's no him going at Shan without Mo D doing it to Busy B. You know what I'm saying? So this changes hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So his impact, actually, from a battle standpoint, he is the pinnacle of that, of the battle. You know what I'm saying? He's also like the first intellectual MC, rapid fire rhymes. His rhymes in 83, 84, 85 was, was the precursor to like the Nas's and Jay and all them, the intricate lyrics and all that. Well, he was considered an intricate lyrical MC in like 82, 83. You know what I'm saying? So, and with LL battle, LL's a star. He looks like a star. So some of the star power beat Mo D. But that's what look at, and I know you don't like that one song, Kid, we talked about, but just lyrically, Mo D was right there with LL. But since he started so early rapping, he stayed almost old school when hip hop was starting to change. So he kind of got, like Paul said, he got lost in history almost, and it's almost like he's an ancient artifact, man. But he's an amazing MC, and so for me, there can't be a hip hop Hall of Fame without Kool Moe Dee.
But here's the thing: does he check the boxes for you though? Like when we talk about
Biggie don't check all the boxes. That's what I'm saying. Is one of the things I said when we first started is there's going to be an exception to every rule. Because one of my criteria was having at least 10 years in the game. You know.
I thought we were saying you don't have 10 years in the game. You have 10 years before you are considered.
Oh, no, I was talking about making music for 10 years.
So you're talking about making music for 10 years. Okay.
But I just think
Okay.
there's going to be some kind of exceptions with certain artists, just like in basketball, it might be an exception because somebody's career was cut short. Tracy McGrady just got in the Hall of Fame.
But here's the thing. With Biggie, I can sit here and show you the impact is there, the classic songs are there. I can show you the influence is there. I can show you the flows is there. So Biggie's only missing one for you.
And I can write out
It's
cool stuff for people from that era.
But what I'm saying is, if we're looking at this from a point of we're voting on this, you're looking at it like where does no, but I'm just saying, like, even off of that. But for the classic albums, he doesn't. Do you feel like he has a classic album?
Nope.
Just that okay. Does he have a classic song? Like, I mean, How You Like Me Now is dope, but I don't know if it's a classic song. So he doesn't have.
Well, I think the Wild Wild West is a classic song.
Okay. Your influence for him is the battle rap?
Absolutely. He is the battle. He started battle rap, made it popular. That's exactly what he did.
Okay.
I mean, that's just what it is.
All right. I'm not mad at that.
This came from the other great MCs. It ain't me saying it because I'm not a rapper.
No. I totally get you.
It's from Kanye and KRS.
But my question to that is then why then is KRS's Bridges Over attributed to being the first like diss song battle whatever kind of track then? Like what happened?
It
was a record.
On record, yeah.
It's a record.
Yeah, it was a record.
Whereas like what Kool Moe Dee did with Busy B was more like surprising.
Right, but I just mean audience. Like Kool Moe Dee's never mentioned or barely mentioned unless you go digging for it. Like I just feel like if someone had that level of impact and influence, you would hear Kool Moe Dee's name a lot. And
but MCs do mention them. I mean, the ones from that era. Casual fans don't talk about them, but with KRS-One and Rocky,
the fans talk about the Bridges Over all the time. The fans talk about what LL did with Cannabis. The fans talk about even like Roxanne, all that stuff. Like, but the fans don't talk about Kool Moe Dee. So again, I have a question mark there.
Because it happened so long ago.
And I think it's because it happens so long ago.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
And I think the other flip of it too is that by it being, it's almost like saying, here's a great example. I mean, maybe it's not as great example, but for me, I talk about Tracy Lee's demos all the time. That was floating around Morgan when I was there. But nobody else heard that shit. You know what I mean? So I know the Harlem World Battle happened. I know it's on YouTube now. You know what I mean? But I understand exactly what I can't say that Moe Dee invented battle rap and got it out to the world. It got circulated to a certain group of people. I never heard. I'm fucking hip hop to the day I die. I never heard it until that shit was up on YouTube.
Ice-T said he heard it. He got a tape and he was in California. I'm just talking about people in the culture.
Right. I'm not just saying that, but what I'm saying is that I don't think the masses heard it. No, you know what I mean? I so I can't say Moe Dee invented battle rap or he put battle rap on the map because a rack of folk ain't hear it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel you, but I can't like that. Like I said, that's something that circulated amongst
it's an era before us as well too. It happened when he was 7 years old.
Right, exactly. What you gonna say, Beck?
The difference is radio. I mean, the Bridges Over was on the radio. Yep. The
I mean, yeah, but that's the thing.
But wait,
but that's the thing. That it's almost like it's word of mouth. It's almost like a word of mouth battle. Like, so I can sit here and say, also, man, I think Vegas. Go ahead, Portia.
Sorry, I was going to say the Bridges Over was kind of again on the radio, but to what extent? Because I heard about Bridges Over in the middle of nowhere, Canada, but I never heard about Kool Moe Dee's influence in that way. Do you know what I mean? I promise you, Bridges Over was never played. KRS-One was never played on the radio when I was at any age. Like I just never heard KRS on the radio.
The Harlem World Battle happened in New York.
Yeah.
In 82. Bridges Over happened in New York, but one had the benefit of being on the radio, whereas the other one didn't. Hip hop wasn't even being played on the radio like that. Kool Moe Dee was battling Busy B, so it didn't have the same sort of circumstance. It was word of mouth, and you heard about it. And you might know somebody who have a tape. You don't. All you knew walking away was that Kool Moe Dee dusted Busy B, and that was the end of it. But when it came to KRS-One, not only did you hear about the song from your friends, but then you can turn on the radio, listen to Mr. Magic. I mean, not Mr. Magic, but listen to one of the old hip hop joints and actually hear it. Yeah. So it was different.
But to me, that's why I can't give it to Mo D, because it's more of like a hip hop rumor or something. I mean, I know it happened, but it's almost like hip hop folklore, even though it happened, because only certain people, like Tone said, this is really for our OGs. I'm 46 and I didn't know about it. So this is really for like that 50 crowd. Like I'm sure if somebody 50 was on here, they'd be like, "Yo, I'm with your man Tone." You know what I mean? So it's all those things. Ed, I know you have something to say.
Oh no, I was just saying. I was thinking. I'm like, damn, you're like.
Yeah, he froze.
He froze again. Ed always about to say something and he freezes up.
I know he was.
I know what he was about to say. Once Kumo D took off some damn shades, that was it. So he's like,
here's the funniest thing. The first time I saw Mo D without the shades was in Strap, the movie, and I didn't even know that was Cool Mo D.
That's right.
Like I didn't even know he was Mo D because he took the glasses off. All right, y'all. We gonna have to come back for another ep of the 80s because I still got about another 20 groups down here to get through. This was dope, man. I
drop the names as the teasers.
We got Ice Cube, Schoolie D, KRS and BDP, Kwame, Run DMC, Eric B. and Rakim, Public Enemy, NWA. That was just some of the rest of the names.
Yeah, we get some sleepers.
Oh, I got some sleepers coming. I got some sleepers coming. That's gonna be because again, most of these are gonna get in. You know what I mean? I thought we were gonna get through all of this tonight, so I that's why I had it. But I got more sleepers coming in. That should be some good debates. They good looking for the idea. I like this criteria. You know what I mean that we got, and I love it because it keeps us on task. It's almost like a mission statement. You know what I mean? That's like you can't divide from what we came up with. They give them all the info, good brother. Where can they get at you, man?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Vegas World INC, and you can check out my podcast, Hip Hop Now Podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and also on YouTube. Me and Tone, That Time in Hip Hop. We can school you to the Fat Boys, even though they ain't get into the Hall of Fame. We still school you on the Fat Boys of everything.
Yo, I'm like Porsche, man. I'm still hurt, but I gotta keep it moving, man. Porsche, where can they get at you, miss?
On Twitter at ShowShayLovePorsche.
All right, DJ Rec.
Boring these days. Sorry.
All you gotta do. Well, we're not gonna go. Okay. DJ Rec one, give him everything, good brother.
New mix-up will be up this weekend on Mixcloud. Just follow me at DJ Rec1. Twitter is DJ Rec1. Instagram is DJ Rec1.
All right, no doubt. Tone, give him everything, good brother.
Twitter, Into the Dome. On there, you can hit intothedome.com. Check me out. That's it.
No doubt. Eddie, give him everything. Is Eddie frozen again?
At Twitter, at Teddy Riley 1. No, I'm just playing. At Twitter, Teddy Riley 1. I'm just playing. At Eddie D80, and then on Instagram, Eddie Got Soul.
All right, you already know what it is with me. Kill Apartment 5B on Twitter, Kill 889 on Instagram. We'll make beats for food. Got a dope remix dropping tomorrow. The new Trey Lee single, remixed it. Got my brother Yao on it.
Yes.
Shit is crazy. Shit is stupid. I ain't even gonna hold you. That shit is dumb. So yeah, we gonna get with y'all next week, man. Thanks a lot, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
All right. Yo, dope show, y'all.